Hello everybody, welcome back to my new mommy channel. Today we are going to be talking about probably the number one asked question I've been receiving over the past several months, and that is, how did you potty train Carter? It actually went surprisingly well and I learned so much. I have so much to share with you guys. I just quickly want to say, if you are new here to this channel, please subscribe, share this with your other mom friends. We all need to stick together. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started talking about potty training. If you don't know, I have a now 3-year-old son. He turned 3 in January, and I have quite a lot of mom friends here in San Diego, and starting at age around 2, they started potty training their kids one by one. So I kind of watched my friends go through this, and I have to say, I got a little bit traumatized because every single one of them, without fail, said it was a horrible, traumatizing experience. So I'm over here like, I think I'm good with diapers for now. I'm not in a hurry. Most of them did it while they were pregnant. And they said to me, Brittany, if there is one piece of advice I have for you, do not try to potty train your child while you are pregnant. And at the time, I was not yet pregnant. So I was like, okay, I gotta do this. And that's kind of what got me to actually pull the trigger and actually do it. Now, at this time, Carter happened to be 2.5 years old. And now looking back, I would say for me and for my child, 2.5 ended up being the perfect age to start potty training, because that was the age where I felt Carter could fully understand what was going on. In terms of preparation and research, I read this book probably 2 or 3 times, the Oh Crap Potty Training Method. So I had been reading some articles about potty training, but I didn't feel like that gave me enough background information. So having this full book, I really felt prepared. Now, spoiler alert, in the end, I did not end up following this method, but believe it or not, I'm still glad that I read this book. The general information did help me feel more empowered, more knowledgeable going into the process. And there were some things from this that I did end up following. But she does start by talking about how to prepare for potty training, what you want to kind of do. And the biggest thing is you need to do this at a time where you can be home with your child, giving them your full undivided attention for several days. The longer the better. So it just so happens, at time of filming this, we're under quarantine, so this could be the perfect time to potty train. Now, what she recommended, and was true for me, is there was no pre-introduction to the potty. She actually says that it's counterproductive. If you're gonna do it, you do it all at once. You don't kind of get your toe in, do it sometimes and not others. It's like, this is the day, we're doing it, and there's no turning back. But starting day 1, we were going for it, and I did explain to him that morning that we are a big boy now, and we are going to start using the potty. And I showed him the potty. It was his first time seeing it, which was absolutely fine. And at that time, I was committed to following her method fully. And what her method was, you start off by them not wearing pants at all for the first day, so you can really see when they have to go and when they are going. So day 1, pants free. And what you do is you are waiting and watching their every move. And she says that every kid has some kind of a tell or a signal when they have to go potty. And so you're watching them like a hawk. And if they do their little potty dance or whatever it is, you immediately move them over to the potty. In addition to that, you are giving them more water than normal because you want to give them more opportunities to have to pee and to use the potty, and thus opportunities for them to learn. Right away, they were major problems. The problem was Carter had no potty tell, no dance he did, no signal he gave, nothing. I mean, trust me, we were watching him like a hawk. He was standing there, and then there was pee. I mean, there was no in between. He's very sensitive. So the first time he had an accident, he was just in hysterics. He was so upset. He did not like the feeling of not having, a diaper on and peeing on himself. He had, at that point, 2 or 3 times, we're watching him, trying to wait for him to pee and move him to the potty. But by the time we saw, it was too late. There was no signals. It just immediately was clear that this method just wasn't working. Honestly, I wanted to give up. My initial thought was, this isn't working, we need to give up, he's not ready, we need to try another day. But it was actually Ryan who was like, no, let's just put him down for a nap, try to figure out what to do. So I reached out to another girlfriend of mine, got some tips from her, did some research online, and within the time of his 2-hour nap, figured out a new method. And this new method did end up working. And this is the one that I would recommend. So the method we followed was we set a timer for every 15 minutes. We would put him on the potty and try to get him to go. So there was no waiting for his signal, kind of watching him like a hawk. It was when the timer goes off, we sit on the potty and we try to go. It doesn't mean you have to go every time, but it just means you at least try. The other big change we made, which I think was a game changer, was we added in some rewards. And at least for Carter, he is very, very, very reward motivated, and he doesn't normally get just like regular candy. So we decided to give him 1 M&M for every time he went pee, and 3 M&Ms and a Hot Wheel truck for every time he went number 2. So when he woke up from his nap, we kind of explained to him, we're gonna try again every 15 minutes. When the timer goes off, we sit on the potty and we try to go. If you go, here's your reward. I kind of had to show him the M&Ms and the Hot Wheel cars, and that got him actually excited. His mood started to change. He was like, okay, I could be on board with this. So I just set the timers on my Amazon Alexas just because like that was easier. They can go off everywhere in the house. So set a timer for 15 minutes, put him on the potty, and went to see if anything would happen. So I would let him sit on there for at least 2 to 3 minutes. I wouldn't just sit him on there and if nothing happened in 30 seconds take him off. Like I would give him enough time and opportunity to go. And meanwhile, remember, you are giving them more water than normal, and I was even putting a little bit of juice in his water so it tasted better to him and he wanted to drink more. And that is when we had our first success. I think it was either the first or the second 15-minute timer. He sat there and he did his first little pee in the potty, and then he got to pick his M&M color. He was very adamant he wanted to pick, and he got his M&M, and at that point things were looking much better. And this method, just right away I could tell, was so much better, at least for Carter and his temperament. So the rest of the day went on like this. Mind you, he still was not wearing any pants. He was wearing a top with no bottoms. Just makes it easier to sit them on the potty right away. And so I would say about every time he went on the potty or every other time he would pee, and it actually implemented some strategies to help trigger him to pee. So one thing I did is I would take 2 cups of water and I would pour them from one cup into the other. The sound and the sight of the flowing water would get him to start peeing. Another thing I would say to him is I would say, you don't have to go, you just have to try. So there was no pressure. I wasn't forcing him to go. So it was still a positive experience. Another thing I would do, I would turn on the hose, when he was sitting on there, so he could see the water flowing from the hose, and it actually worked, and that would trigger him to go. Now the first day, I am nearly positive there was no pooping involved, which I think is pretty normal because the whole experience is a little bit stressful for them. So they're holding it. So now that night we did put him in his diaper, or with a pull-up, and I did explain to him, for nighttime sleeping we get to wear our special sleep diaper, but during the day no more diapers. So I wanted to make sure that he understood what was happening, and I will talk a little bit later about nighttime potty training and how that all went down. Day 2, I was optimistic. Things were going so much better once we figured out switching the method to the 15-minute timer and the rewards. So we continued with that. Day 2, he still was wearing nothing from the waist down. We also continued with the every 15 minutes still. I felt like, it's a lot, it's a little bit aggressive, but you're sure if you're going every 15 minutes that you're not gonna miss a window. And that day we only had 1 accident, and it was because I didn't hear the timer go off. We were outside, I didn't hear the timer go off, and I think like 25 minutes had passed. And so he did end up peeing outside on the grass, and again, got very, very, very upset when he peed on himself. So after that, you better believe I was very aware of the timer. We did not let that happen again. So for the whole second day, again, we did 15-minute timer, put him on the potty for a good, 2 to 3 minutes, did the little triggers to try to get him to go, giving him more water than normal, giving him lots of praise and his reward every time he went. Now it was that afternoon that he also went number 2. And the way that happened, I think he just couldn't hold it anymore. And it was, I think, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And every time he was peeing, I would say, okay, let's just wait on here longer, see if anything else comes out. And he was scared the first time. It's definitely a weird experience, the first time he's ever gone anywhere that wasn't a diaper. But, you know, we just sat there, we encouraged him, you know, push, push. So he did his first poop there, and that is when he got 3 M&Ms and a new Hot Wheel car. Oh my goodness. I mean, he felt great about himself. Now I have read, and it even talks about in this book, that sometimes kids won't go number 2 for a really long time and they get really backed up. So if that is the case, you might just want to give your kid a little bit more fiber. I think in the book she says you can give them a little bit of apple juice and that helps them. By day 2 already, things were really clicking, but I would really attribute this to the fact that I was extremely diligent. Every 15 minutes, I wasn't just, you know, guesstimating when 15 minutes was. I wasn't losing track of time, except for the one time, and you saw what happened, but I was just on it. And so was Ryan, and we just dedicated the entire day to it. So if you want to set yourself up for success, don't just haphazardly do it. Like really commit. Again, naps and nighttime, he was still wearing the diaper. So he had his nap on day 2, and then nighttime day 2 wore his diaper. Now day 3 is when I decided to extend the time from 15 minutes to between 20 to 30 minutes. I think earlier in the day I started with 20, and then by the end of the day it was 30-minute timer. I wasn't giving him quite as much water as I was on day 1 and 2, a normal to slightly more than normal amount of water. He still was not wearing pants from the waist down on day 3. So the only other difference on day 3 was that instead of 15 minutes, it was 20 minutes through his nap time, and then after his nap time, it was 30-minute increments. Day 4 was the day I decided we're gonna take a little risk. We're gonna go out and run an errand because, you know, you don't really know if your system or method works until you test it. So we decided to do a quick little trip to Target. So I had him pee. We were doing 30-minute increments on day 4. So I had him pee right before, and that is when we took off. Right after he peed, we went into Target, and I will have down below, I have an Amazon storefront. There's a category called Potty Training, and it has all of the stuff we use. So the potty we used, and also the portable potty. So I had the portable potty with me. We went into Target. It actually ended up being that the 30-minute timer went off while we were there in Target, and I thought, you know, this is a good opportunity to try to use the training potty. So we went into the bathrooms there, and I put the little training potty on, and I was a little bit worried he was going to be scared of it, but he ended up kind of thinking it was cool, and he sat on there and he actually went. I made sure to have my rewards there with me, and it wasn't as scary or as bad as I thought, because by then we were able to kind of wrap up, get home by the next 30-minute timer. And again, don't expect that every time the timer goes off that they're going to pee. Like, it's just, there's no way. You're gonna start to learn how many times they go a day on average, what's normal for them. Some kids go all the time, and some kids are camels. Carter is the king of all camels. Oh, I also forgot to mention that day 4 was the day that he started wearing pants again, but not yet underwear, because she talks about in the book that putting underwear on starts to feel a little bit too much like a diaper, and they can regress. So I just put on like looser pants or shorts that weren't too constraining and making him feel like it could be a diaper. And for the remaining rest of the week, I would say days 4 through 7, he was just wearing, you know, the loose pants without the underwear. I think in the book she says just have them wear pants without underwear for anywhere from like 1 to 2 weeks, or until you feel like they really solidly have got it. So that's what I did. Days 3 through 7, I kept it at the 30-minute, and then for the second week I moved it to 45 minutes for a couple days, and then an hour. So basically, as he was getting better and more confident, I was adjusting and spreading out those timers. And yes, I continued to actually have the timers. Something that's interesting is I thought he would get to a point where he would tell me he had to go. He never really did get to that point, but when the timer goes off, you have to at least try. All these months later, he doesn't tell me when he has to go. I tell him when it's time to go. And I don't think that's normal. I think most kids, like after a certain point, will tell you. Now at age 3 and 3 months, he goes right when he wakes up in the morning. He goes at 11, he goes at 2, he goes at 5, and he goes right before bed. So I guess it's 5 times a day, and usually the afternoon is when he also will go number 2. So that's just his schedule. I know his little schedule and his routine, and I tell him when it's time to go to the potty. He still never wants to go on his own. I'm sure one day. Yeah, that was kind of the crux of what I did. I know that may make it seem like it's too easy. It may just be a situation where I got lucky and he just took to it really well, or it could be a testament to the system and really being diligent and following it, that it works. So regardless, I wanted to pass it along. I know a lot of people have said to me that going pee is a lot easier, but with number 2 is where it gets harder. So what I would say there is just to make sure you're not rushing them on and off the potty. If you're just putting them on for 30 seconds, oh, they don't have to go, then you're gonna miss the opportunities where they do have to go. And for me, I kind of knew when his pattern was. He usually will go in the afternoons, like around 4 o'clock. So in the afternoons, I was just always careful to make sure that he's sitting on there for a long enough time that if he has to go, that we get that opportunity. So we sit there. Sometimes I would read him a book on there. We would talk about, are you sure you don't have to go? Don't you want a new Hot Wheel car? Get him kind of excited for it. You know, because we didn't have that many issues along the way, it's hard for me to do like serious troubleshooting, but that is a good place where this book comes in handy, because she has like a whole like 2 or 3 chapters of troubleshooting. Like, what if this happens? What if this happens? So this could be useful there. I only can go off of my experience. But now we can go into night training and nap training. My plan was to keep him in his diaper for naps and nighttime for as long as he needed to. I want to say after maybe like 1 or 2 months, he said he didn't want to wear his diaper anymore during his nap. So we stopped and he never had an accident. And it was pretty much a week or 2 after he started potty training that he on his own wasn't peeing during the nap. So something was clicking in his brain. Again, I would have kept it on longer because I didn't see the harm in having it on there, but he didn't want to wear it anymore. So I followed his lead. And then for nighttime, it was about 2 months after he stopped wearing the diaper for naps that I noticed that he would wake up dry in the mornings. And he does sleep for 12 hours at night. So that's a long stretch. And I know for most kids, they do have to wake up, but Carter the camel, he can hold it for a very, very, very long time. So I was noticing he was waking up dry in the mornings, but I still was in no hurry to take away the diaper, because why not just have it there just in case? So we definitely had the diaper on for nighttime sleeping at least 3, 4, 5 months. But after, like I said, a couple months, I was noticing that almost every morning it was dry, but there were some mornings where it was wet. So I didn't feel confident or ready enough to just remove it. But again, this kid, I don't know, one day he told me, I don't want to wear the diaper at night. So I was like, okay. So this is when you really want to make sure, if you don't already have a waterproof mattress pad, get that on there just in case. But crazy enough, I mean, he knew, and he has not had any nighttime accidents ever. And he does sleep for 12 hours. He doesn't wake up. Again, this is something I can only speak from my experience. I am as shocked as anybody that this happened. I wasn't expecting it. I was terrified. I didn't want to do it. But your kid might surprise you. And again, your kid might not. If you've already started potty training and it hasn't been going well, I would say you can reset. You can start from scratch, and that's probably what I would do. And I frankly did on day 1. I did a full reset, but I will tell you, for baby number 2, I'm going to be using the timer and reward method. Oh, you may be asking, how did I stop giving him the rewards? Because he's not currently getting an M&M and a Hot Wheel car. Once the bag of M&Ms ran out, the rewards went out. We went to go get the M&M and oh, there's no more M&Ms, but you're a big boy now, you don't need it. I will say he wasn't as excited to go pee anymore without the M&M, but he did. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap it up here. I'm sure this is a long video with a lot of talking. Sorry about that, but again, I hope you guys got something from this. The next big topic that we're gonna be tackling, sneak preview, is toddler discipline, because you guys, I have a method that I figured out, well, I got from a book, and it works so well, so I really want to share that with you guys. I want to do some pregnancy updates, talk about that. I mean, there's so much I want to talk about here on this channel, so please subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you soon with a new video.